Last episode, we talked about how I played Big Brother. Here is now my little brother, Nicholas Gervasi.
I was confused. I was like, do we have Ryan Dew on here?
I
didn't know where you were going with that.
That'd be funny. No, I think I think he has some homework tonight. I should have done that. That would have been funny. Just like, hello, and then he like X him out.
Yeah. But, I was going to say we could have a conversation with him.
Or we could interview with him.
We can X him out too.
We can X him out too.
He just followed the show.
Oh. Does that mean he started listening?
No. That's okay. Jordan doesn't either.
I was going to say, does Jordan listen? She's been on it.
Yeah, sibling rivalry. Look at this. This ties in super well to what we're going to talk about today.
It's kind of the bad sibling rivalry, though, because if she doesn't listen to it, my brother doesn't listen. It's like, who's the worst sibling?
Well, yeah. I was thinking more about Harry and Billiam, if you will.
Billiam. Yes, we'll get into that.
Yes.
I will say, though, my other sibling, just literally minutes before coming on here, told me that when she's been doing her homework in her room, she's been getting just staring at a screen a lot, just getting like motion sickness or whatever. I don't know, something where she just has to close her eyes and just take a break. You know, we all need that. And
yes,
she said the only thing that can bring her calm is listening to our bullshit. So, so she's making her way through the episodes. Actually, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind, but then referred to Hope is a Confident Expectation. I go, you're only 3 episodes behind. You're not that far behind. So when she needs a screen break, she'll throw her AirPods in, lay in bed, close her eyes, and she's like, oh, my roommates think I'm sleeping. No, I'm just listening to you and Nick. So
I love that. Ashley, we love you, and thank you for helping us with TikTok.
And yes, I was going to say, we should shout her out there. She's kind of our TikTok consultant, if you will, and we will. But yeah, so I just thought that was funny. 2 of our siblings don't listen to it, and then the third one, we somehow calm her down. I feel like we just provide more anxiety for people. I don't know. Maybe not. Just how we talk.
Yeah.
Full of energy and just craziness.
Definitely our elders, for sure.
We bring anxiety upon our elders.
Yeah, with this show.
This is true.
All right.
How are you? It's so nice to see you.
It's lovely to see you as well. I am very excited for this episode. I've recently been thinking about the halftime show, Rihanna's big, and especially since the Grammys
the
were
Superbowl
last
halftime
night.
show.
Yes. Something like that.
Not just the Life halftime show.
Yeah, no.
When someone turns like 50, they just put on a show.
Yeah. I'm turning 25 soon. My quarter time show. But anyways, no, I've been really excited because Rihanna, like, this is like her big return to music, and I love set lists, as I've said before on the show, so I've really been trying to predict like what she's gonna do, and I've been thinking about it. She's very interesting where she has so many hits, but she doesn't have a ton, and please don't cancel me for this. When I say she doesn't have a lot of like signature songs, the only thing I mean by that is she doesn't have, it's very hard to predict what she's going to sing because she's had so many big songs. And she has, of course, Umbrella. That's like her signature song. And she has, I have a list of what I think she's going to do.
I told you last night when we were kind of brainstorming because you brought this idea of predicting her set list. I feel like Umbrella and Disturbia are her big songs. I mean, she went through, I don't know if she'll do S&M.
I said that was such a big song. I don't know. Is she allowed to?
Who's hosting it? Fox? I feel like Fox.
Apple Music. Oh, yeah.
Apple Music, it's probably like the Super Bowl halftime show by Apple Music, but the Super Bowl is on Fox this year. It rotates between the networks.
Right.
And her most recent song for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, was more of a ballad. So maybe she'll start with that.
She could start with that. She could end with it. It could be like the second to last song. I do think that she probably will sing that, just given that she can do so much with it. It can be a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. It can be it is just her newest song, so it's, great promotion. The Super Bowl is like it's the most watched concert in the world. The halftime show. I keep saying the Super Bowl. So she could do that. She could do she could make a political statement with it. She can do something in honor of Black lives. She could do so many. I think she will sing that. And there are people predicting that she's going to drop an album after this and announce a tour. And if she does that, I don't know. Will we hear like a new song, even newer than Lift Me Up? I don't know. But I
think it'd be bold. I think it would be bold if she did a song that people didn't know at the Super Bowl.
I mean, Beyonce did it with Formation back when she was a guest.
That song wasn't released?
No.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
But
yeah, I don't know. I can see the way I'm picturing it, and really I'm picturing it for the first time. I just knew those two songs that I felt like she was definitely going to do. I feel like it's going to start on a lower note, not in terms of quality, but and then rise. And I don't imagine, because I can see her doing, I forget even the title of her, what's the latest song, the Black Panther
Work? One? Oh, Lift Me Up.
Lift Me Up, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like she's going to do Lift Me Up, and she'll be like sitting somewhere. I don't know. Katy Perry came out on a tiger. Maybe she'll be sitting on a Black Panther. And
maybe.
Then the knowledge of Super Bowl halftime shows that I have I'm shocked myself. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'll start there, and then the energy will rise, and then it won't fall again.
Do you want to hear my prediction? This is my C.
Yes.
I'll call this like a B- C+ level prediction, because I didn't put that much time into it.
Okay.
I could see her doing a single line of Run This Town at the beginning, which is with Jay-Z. I don't think he'll be there.
Only Girl in the World is a good one too. I just realized
she could. That's what I'm saying though. But is it her? She only has 12 to 15 minutes. But I could see her doing SNL. I think it's gonna go. This is just, again, I'm kind of embarrassed by this prediction, because it's I didn't put that much time into it. But I can see a Run This Town one-liner going into Work and S&M, followed by Rude Boy, because that's a big one of her big songs. I could see a lot of people she has to do Ponder Replay. She doesn't like that song. She said it multiple times. She hasn't sang that song in years. But I could see her maybe doing Please Don't Stop the Music. And by doing that, I mean just maybe the Michael Jackson sample in that, maybe getting her from an A stage to a B stage, and then maybe have Umbrella with Jay-Z. I'm curious to see who her guest is going to be, because she could do she could have Drake, but they dated. It's kind of awkward for them now.
Do you think she'd bring on ASAP?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Her boyfriend ASAP. She's not bringing on Kanye, and she shouldn't. But I could see Umbrella being a big thing, and then kind of a calm Lift Me Up going into Diamonds, and then I could see her closing with We Found Love, honestly, because it's a very upbeat.
Yeah, I was wondering if because I was thinking her collabs with Calvin Harris. I think there are two that she has. Isn't We Found Love with Calvin Harris?
Yes. Yeah. And also, oh my gosh, the one that Taylor Swift is featured on, even though she's not credited for it, she's credited as someone else.
Did she help write it?
I think so, but she's does the that's Taylor Swift. I don't know if you ever knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but she could do anything, and then we can stop talking about this. But she could do 6 songs, because when we say 6 songs, the whole thing is a medley. But she could also do we saw J-Lo and Shakira both perform, and they each did about 4 or 5. So she could do up to 10 songs.
Right.
I'm curious to see. But that is my definitive prediction. I don't think she's going to do Disturbia, just because she hasn't done it in years. I know it's the Super Bowl, but I'm not. I would love to. I love that song. I would love to see her do that.
It's also going to be really funny, because we're recording this the week before the Super Bowl, but it's going to come out 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. So we're going to be
well, that's by design. That's fools. Why I wanted to.
It's totally by design. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But let's see if we can predict anything. But
yeah. But, I don't know. We know how Rihanna is. How are you?
It's good. Just one last thing on Rihanna. Good. Should we post with this? Should we post the photo of me with her as the?
Oh my God! Yes, you should have asked. You should have asked her. Should have asked her.
I should have
You
asked her
saw her.
years later.
I think
What
you
her
saw
Super
her
Bowl
during
play
the
was.
Loud era. Because she had red hair.
Her hair was red and it was short.
Okay, so that was like in between the rated R era and the Loud era, because she had the pixie cut for the rated R era, and then the Loud era was red.
Are these her albums?
Yeah,
Rated R and
rated R and then Loud were like,
Okay.
yeah, that was in between 2009 and 2011. That was like the period in between, which would
I
make
think that
sense, right? When
tracks.
did you?
yeah,
Yeah.
that tracks like 2010 maybe.
Yeah, that would
Because I
exactly.
had my first phone. I had. So
God,
I'll
I'm good.
give some background on this. So I'm good. Anyway,
I know. I asked you how you are, and you're like, "Let me just talk about Rihanna."
let me
Guys,
just talk
Justin,
Rihanna.
Justin met Rihanna.
I met Rihanna. Also, did you guys know her name's Rihanna? Not Rihanna.
It is.
We've all been saying it wrong.
It's actually Robin. It's
Yeah,
actually
it is
Robin, but
Robin.
tell this story, please, because it's so interesting, and I love that you were trying to be slick, and it just didn't work out for you.
So, I met Rihanna at a strange place called Fenway Park. Like, why would she be at a baseball game? Well, she was dating an LA Dodger at the time, I believe, named Matt Kemp. And so
Hey.
they were playing the Dodgers, and so she was there. I don't know why she sat behind my family, but she was sitting directly behind me at a Red Sox game. And so I was like, oh my God, it's Rihanna. This is like 10-year-old me, 9-year-old me. I don't know, between 9 and 11 years old Justin, who had just gotten his first phone a few weeks prior. And now, everyone remember, phones didn't always have cameras, never mind selfie cameras. So my phone only had this really just crappy phone or crappy camera on the back of it. And I was like, okay, I want to take her picture, but at the same time, I don't want to bother her. You know, like there could be annoying fans if you're a celebrity who's like, oh my God, can we get a picture, get a signature, whatever. I don't want to be that person. I've never really wanted to be that person. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to pretend that I'm texting on my phone. But that's dumb, right? Because the camera, she's sitting behind me, the camera is only on the back side of my phone. So I was holding my phone upside down, pretending that I was texting and slowly raising it above my shoulder to try and get the camera to see her and then take a photo. So anyway, Nick is going to post the photo that resulted. And she totally caught me. She's looking over my shoulder with a little grin. You can see the half of my face, which I don't know if my lips were chapped or something, but it looks like I'm wearing like lip gloss or lipstick in the picture too. Just a little side thing. And so then I take the picture, I look at it, and I see that she's looking right at me. My face goes bright red out of embarrassment. I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, she caught me. I look like such a doofus because I'm like holding my phone backwards and I'm like, ha, 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 and let me try and be so slick. And she just totally got me. And it's the most hilarious photo ever. Anyway, my mom ended up getting caught on national television talking with her later on in the game because she was, I don't know, Rihanna was being social or whatnot. And she called to my mom. She said, your kids are angels. So Rihanna called me an angel. Her boyfriend ended up hitting a foul ball that came our way. And so we caught it and then she signed it. So we have that. In
That's
the basement
incredible.
Too. Anyway, good luck at the Super Bowl. That already happened. But
Yeah.
it's a cool story.
Lady Gaga just knows I'm mentally ill and went to the hospital. Like, that's all.
That's what you talked about the one time you met her?
Yeah. Like, anyways, that's
It's
such
a
a
great
cool
story.
story. I love that story.
It's a great story. So yeah, I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk about it. But we're going to talk about something that is a more serious topic than the last couple that we've had. Episodes of this year, yes. And I think it will be a good conversation. You already know, as our listener, that Nick tends to be the more humorous one, and I'm the one that draws the, not suffocates. Yeah, I suffocate on the show. That, takes the air out of the room with my serious topics and, hey, did you hear this in the news? But anyway, it's not one of those. but it's a more serious topic. Are you ready, Nick? I don't know. You said you were excited for this episode, so
I am. I have my notes. Look at my notes. They're in pink because it's February.
I love that. Oh, you and your colors and your months. I love
My colors
and
my months.
Your colors and your months. So I guess what made me think about this was, well, I'll let you share what you experienced recently, but something that Nick shared with me that made me kind of think about the topic of loss and the topic of grief. And I feel like there are lots of different ways that we can grieve, and there's lots of things that we can grieve about. It can be about a loss. Typically, it is about a loss, but it made me think about why we started this show in the first place. We started it in, we're still in a pandemic, but really kind of the height of the pandemic. We had just graduated, and there's been, I guess I've been through kind of a delayed processing of grief, of what the pandemic has taken from my life. And I would say that anybody who's listening to this, whether you know it or not, and whether it was a loss by losing a loved one or losing someone you care about by death, or if it's a loss that you experienced because we had to shelter in place and socially distance for so long while, you know, doctors and scientists kind of figured out what to do with this virus that was spreading worldwide. I just wanted to have a discussion about that because I don't think we ever really have done that. So the first type of loss that I want to talk about, and the first type of grief that I want to talk about, is the way I'm phrasing it. I don't know if it's correct, but I'm calling it losing a dream. And the reason that I'm calling it that is essentially losing a way of life or losing a plan that you had for yourself, going long term or even short term, because of an event that happened. And in this case, I'm talking about COVID, and how this is how I thought the latter half of my college career was going to be, and just in terms of like everything that comes with going to college, but then also kind of like developmentally, like things that I wanted to try. And do you understand, Nick? Am I making any sense? Like when I say
Yes.
like losing a dream, just kind of like using that terminology?
Yes, and the way I hear it too, because dreams are very like, when you hear the word dreams, I think like some big thing, and it might not necessarily even be a dream, maybe it was for you, but like also just like a plan and a vision that you had for your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of what I was getting at, but I wasn't good with words, I guess, when I was thinking about this episode. But that's what I'm just going to call it, is losing a dream, losing a plan. When I was talking to you earlier, while we were planning the episode, I used the Thomas Rhett lyric, you know, you make your plans and you hear God laughing. That's essentially the idea that I'm thinking about. So for me, I think the dream, the plan that I lost was the second half of college. And I know you lost your senior spring, right? That was March 2020?
Yes.
Okay. I'm curious, like, when we went home March of 2020, and mind you, they said 2 weeks, they said till Easter, and then we went home, and your grade never went back to school. So like, what was that like? And when you think of that time, do you feel like you lost out on anything?
I honestly don't.
Okay.
I know a lot of people in my grade do feel that way, but just in my experience, spring or fall 2019, so the first half of my senior year, was one of the best semesters, if not my favorite semester that I had ever had. So I really, you know, and then I got this unique experience of going to Florida with Rachel and Elizabeth, who were on episode 14. So I got a very unique experience. I, you know, was really, really, really struggling mentally spring 2020, and it had nothing to do with COVID. This happened before COVID was even mainstream in America. But I was struggling before we even went home, so I didn't feel like I had lost something per se, but I can relate to what you're saying in other ways, not necessarily the school aspect of it. But sure. I got like my senior Granted, I didn't get all of them, like the senior 50s, which is 50 days until graduation, where there's a party and there's a theme and you dress up. Like I had 250s and I had 150s or whatever.
Or 100 or something like that. Yeah.
100, something like that. Yeah. And it was fun. And I don't think that had we stayed, I was really struggling. I really went quickly from being so good, fall 2019 to so bad spring 2020 before the pandemic, that I don't think I would have enjoyed it anyways.
Sure.
But that's my experience. And do you want to talk first about your school experience and losing that, or do you want me to say how I can relate to your example? You know what? Why don't you talk first?
Okay. No, I think it's interesting because you graduated in 2020. And I think people from your grade, a lot of what they grieve from the pandemic is not having a ceremony that year. And some schools didn't have a ceremony at all. Loyola, it was you walked the same day that I graduated.
Right.
So Loyola students specifically got to at least experience it if they wanted to. And from what I understand, I think a lot of your grade did come back to do that.
Yes. And it was nice. It was a reunion. It was very nice. I liked it
a year later, you got to see each other. Well, so that connects with the other thing I was going to say is I feel like the other thing that your grade grieves or feels like they lost out on is they didn't get to really have that closure of saying bye. Because we got back from spring break and then 2 days later we're told to leave by the end of that week. And again, we were told 2 weeks, we were told Easter, and then we'd be coming back. And then if people just didn't get that closure of saying bye to people or saying bye to places or those types of things, I feel like that's what your grade feels like they lost.
Yes. And to build off of that, I guess if I were to say that I lost something there, I lost the transition of going from being a student to then being in the real world, I guess. That was what I felt like. I just didn't feel like I closed that chapter.
Yeah.
That was how I felt.
Yeah. Again, I feel like that's touching on closure. And
exactly. It is. I said closed.
Right. And you finished that semester doing work remotely.
Yes.
Or on computers, because it's not like your grade just stopped doing work. Like you had to finish out the semester.
Yeah, we stopped doing work. We stopped. Let's be honest.
We did. We all stopped doing work. The GPA just really inflated that semester.
Yeah. We started taking quizzes together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by together, me, Rachel, and our favorite 20 people from the internet.
Yeah. The Quizlets.
The Quizlets, no one, nothing mattered anymore. Like literally nothing mattered.
Yes. And then transitioning into at least my experience, I feel like my grade lost our senior year. Like
for sure.
We left junior spring right after being spring break. And a lot of people in my grade lost being abroad. Because I luckily studied abroad in the fall before it all happened. And then people who were abroad in the spring had to come back. And so a lot of people lost that. And the grade below me lost being able to go abroad at all. Mm-hmm. So, I think everyone, like I said, everyone listening to this episode, whether you're, 9 or 99, can really think about what the pandemic, these last 3 years of our lives, like how impactful they are. And I think in a way we're all kind of sharing that grief of like what we lost. And you were talking about senior 200, senior 250s, which is again a Loyola kind of specific event for seniors where you kind of gather as a class and the school kind of throws a party and everyone's legal, so you get to drink and stuff, and it's kind of a fun thing. We didn't get that. And so it's funny because even just this past weekend, I was talking to someone and they were like, oh, who's a senior currently. And they're like, oh, we're going to have senior 100s or senior 200s or whatever, however many days are left until commencement. And I had like a sinking feeling in my stomach because I was like, oh, they get to have that again. And I didn't get to. And it's weird because it's a delayed feeling. I'm like, it's been 2 years since I was a senior. Why am I still feeling that way? But I think it gets to a point of grief can be delayed, and it's like a process to kind of like deal with.
Yeah. And I like what you're saying. It is really a loss because the way I relate to you there is I think about like a first relationship. And as I've shared on this show, I've never been in a relationship, but I feel like that's a very special thing, right? Like your like high school relationship, your like, early college relationship. And for a lot of queer people, that doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't happen for me. And granted, like, I don't know about you, but if in your experience, I don't know if you'd necessarily want to go back now, maybe reverse time, but like as a 20, you're, like we're in our early 20, I guess I'm in my mid 20s now, don't tell anyone. You wouldn't want to necessarily go back as the person you are now. Like I wouldn't, like I'm in a different space in my life now, whereas like I want a relationship, a relationship in your 20s is different from a relationship I feel like when your first relationship, which is, oftentimes in high school, or just getting to experience that, that newness, that like first love, I guess. And I had, somebody that I fell in love with, but it didn't work out. And I feel like I really missed out there. Cause like I said, I wouldn't go back. I'm in a different spot in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to go back as a 25. First of all, that's creepy. Second of all, but you know what I mean? Like, so I mourn that I never got that experience. And granted, I don't want it now, but I'm still sad that I never got it. And I know that I'll still have a first relationship, but it's, it's going to be different and it's going to be great. There are like, when you're in your 20s and 30s or whatever, I feel like they're more serious in terms of relationships. I mean,
sure.
But that is something that I do think about it. And like, I see other people getting it. It's like, oh, like they got that experience. That's not something I got to have, but that's okay.
You're touching on too, grief is like a catch-all phrase for a lot of different emotions, right?
Yes.
Because it could be anger, it could be sadness. And, let's pivot into that a little bit. Like when I think about what I lost my latter half of senior year because of the pandemic, it's a lot of anger. And it's like, these people get to experience it. Why didn't I? I'm so frustrated. And like I said, I don't want to go back. If I could reverse time, maybe, but I don't want to go back as now a 23-year-old who like going to senior 200s, but at the same time, I didn't get that experience of I want to do that. It's frustrating. I don't hold resentment for those who got to do that, but at the same time, I'm mad that I didn't get the experience when it was my time. And I think that's what a lot of people experience that. Like I said, whether you're 9 or 99, we're 3 years older than we were when this thing started.
I know. Almost. Part of me feels like I fell asleep at 22 and woke up at 25. Like, honest to God, I'm turning 25 in like less than a month.
Right.
That's wild.
And so it's like mourning the time that we lost, pivoting into, that's more kind of like the anger that I feel, but pivoting into like sadness, the typical type of grief that when you hear the word grieve, it's kind of what you touched on. It's like loss of a relationship or loss of someone, who might have passed away. And so that type of grief I find is also angering. But for me, in my experience, when I lost my grandmother, I think we talked a little bit about this in previous episodes, but when you lose a loved one, that's like sadness and it can be anger. But I mostly feel sadness when that happens because it's just feeling like, and that can relate to losing a dream because you might think, oh, I was going to, my grandmother was going to attend my wedding or my grandmother was going to attend my high school graduation and she never got to. And so that can relate to it. But I think that contributes to my sadness, like losing someone because they passed away.
Right. My grandmother was going to be the 100th stream on this episode of Point of View. No.
Yeah. I don't know if my grandmother would have been able to figure out how to listen to this.
I never thought about that, but my Nana, who has passed away, well, all 4 of my grandparents have passed away, but my Nana absolutely would have listened. She wouldn't have known how either, but she would have called one of us, like one of her grandkids to
try to dial up the show.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, but I honestly, I'm glad you mentioned death because that's something that I struggle with how I process it. That's going to sound weird, but I'll explain. I feel as if I handle it pretty well. And there are times when I'm like, oh my God, do I handle this too well? I've had this conversation with Tom, who's been on the show before and was mentioned in last episode for Big Brother. It doesn't hit, it used to when I was younger. Like there was a point when my Nana died, my first like grandparent that died on my dad's side. I was, sobbing. I was in 4th grade. And then her husband, my papa, died on my dad's side. And I was in 8th grade. And I was like, don't cry. Like, you have to, because I, not that it was embarrassing because everybody else was crying, but I was like, don't cry, like it's awkward, whatever. So I kind of forced it in. And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, well, why aren't you crying? Like, why did I numb myself too much? Is it the Zoloft? Is it whatever? But I take a lot of, like, my Nana on my mom's side who is passed, is the closest person to me who has passed away. And
Right.
I was very close with her. But I remember her, like, I don't know why, but I've always just like had a strong belief in heaven and the afterlife, and I feel her with me. Like, if I have a guardian angel, that is her. And I don't know, I just take, like, yes, of course I miss her and I miss the conversations, but I feel her and I don't know how to explain it.
Sure.
But I do. So I don't look at it with much sadness. I see it as more like I feel her with me. I know that sounds crazy, but it's as if it's a different type of relationship. We obviously can't like speak in the physical sense, you know, but I feel her with me. And it's interesting because my mom, even when my Nana was alive, used to see her parents' phone number, the last 4 digits of her phone number, 1672, everywhere. Like license plates everywhere. I now see that everywhere, and I'm not looking for it. I swear to God, I'm not looking for it. I also see 143, which is like the numeric "I love you" symbol. I see it all the time, and it's often when I'm struggling, and I don't know. I just feel, and you know, some people believe in this stuff, some people don't. You don't have to. I don't know if I fully believe in it, to be honest, but just like often
you feel comforted by it, though.
Comforted, and it's just like even if it's not like a signal from the person, it's a reminder of them, and that keeps their memory alive. Like a lot of times, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but when I've done ERP, which is the gold standard for OCD treatment, we've talked about it before on this show, I will see 143 after, and I know too, like that's a dicey thing because people with OCD, a lot of people with OCD will, not a lot, but a sub theme is like, oh, if I see like 666, that means like the devil's there. But like if I see this number, it's good. Like I'm not looking at it that way. It's just like a nice little comfort. I'm not looking for it to be like, oh, okay, like this means I'm okay. Like I'm not looking at it like that. It's a nice memory. I see it a lot. Like even like I was telling my mom about it one time, and then the next day I was driving my car and I was like, all right, I have to fill up my tank. Or get gas, whatever. I got gas and it was like 143 miles left. Like it was just, I see it all the time.
When you're not looking for it.
I'm not looking for it. I saw it today. I saw it today when I was ruminating about something that was bothering me.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I just wanted to bring up, because I mentioned it in the beginning, you unfortunately recently lost your dog, your family dog.
Yes,
and
Abby.
That's something that I have yet to experience. My dog that I got when I was 8 years old is the only dog that I've had, and she's up there. She's turning 15, I think, this year.
Aging legend.
Yeah.
Abby was just shy of 17. So
yeah. So wonderful. in terms of my dog when she's getting up there, but
yes.
That I just wanted to mention that because that's something that a type of loss that you experienced pretty recently, and you said like feeling numb to it, and I kind of wanted to bring up the 5 stages of grief here. I don't know if you're familiar, but the stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I feel like denial is part of that. Like, not that you were in denial when you said you kind of felt numb, or maybe you were already in acceptance, and I'm not an expert here, and I'm pretty sure you go through them in that order. Again, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. But I feel like a lot of those stages I felt when I lost my grandmother as well, and even like when going back to like losing a dream, like that piece too.
Yeah, I will say it was so much harder. I was dreading her passing away just because, I got her when I was in 2nd grade.
Abby? Referring to Abby?
Yes, yeah. Yes. She was born in 2006, and we had another dog with her too, like Callie, who was 2 years younger. She died when she was 11, but I was dreading it. But it was so much harder when she was alive and not doing well than when she had finally passed, because I was like, okay, now she's at peace. remember her through her personalities and or her personality, make it sound like she has more than one. Like they were such characters. Like Abby was so sweet and regal and patient and very skittish, but like she loved people and she was just very like patient. What I mean by regal is like she rarely gave kisses. Like it was like a luxury when she'd kiss you. But Callie was like an indulgent, like she used to break into Abby's crate. Like Abby would be in the crate with it locked. Callie knew how to unlock the crate with her paw, open the door, let Abby out, and eat Abby's food. She was a very indulgent, but like she was overweight because she just ate Abby's food and then would eat her own. And she knew to eat Abby's first because it looked like Abby ate. Like she really was very intelligent. Abby was not. But just remembering them through those personalities, like Abby was so athletic. She'd like dart and gallop around the backyard. Callie would have to cut through the backyard to catch her, and you'd hear her like trot through the puddles because like she was not, you know, very athletic, and you know she was a lot heavier than she should have been as a Shih Tzu poodle, you know, a very small dog.
Wait, your Callie was a Shih Tzu poodle?
Yeah, we've talked about this.
We have?
Yeah.
That's the same breed that Jazzy is.
Yes.
Why don't I remember this? Okay, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
No, we've talked about this, but that's okay. That's okay. But no, it was so much, and I was in denial. Not in denial, but like, come on, Abby, you have to eat. Like, we'd give her steak towards the end, because she always loved human food. That was nuts. She loved the sun, like basking in the sun. She loved rides, and she loved human food. Like, she loved beef. So it's like we were giving her human food towards the end, because she wouldn't eat her dog food. And I was like, oh, she'll eat when she was always a very finicky eater, but she was like, oh, she'll eat when she wants to. Like, and it was just like, come on. Like, I was like kind of putting it on my dad. Admittedly, I'd be like, please, I can't handle this. Please make sure she eats. Like, I don't care if you have to sit on the floor with her. Please make sure she eats. And I'd text her, be like, is she okay? Like, I was dreading her passing, but it has been so much easier, I have to say, because I don't know. I remember her fondly. I know she's at peace now. I know she's a dog, but even I'm gonna, you know, I'm calling him out here, but Tom was at my house and he was like, I feel her. Like, you just feel their spirit. I really do. And I felt the same way with Callie. And I really believe Callie was the biggest bully to Abby. And typical bully, like, she would, you know, push Abby around. But then when another dog would come over, like, she loved people and everything. But a bigger dog would come over, she'd go on her back and, like, put her tail between her. Like, she was such a... But I really believe that, you know, they're sleeping in the same bed again. They had a puppy bed. And Callie's probably sitting on Abby.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's fully at peace, but, you know.
You're touching on something that's interesting, though. Yes, of course. And they had such a loving family, too.
Yes, thank you.
You're touching on something that the last thing I want to touch on for this category of loss, loss of someone or something, or, you know, by death. I find that there's two different ways, and there's definitely more than two, but main ways that people experience it. People, like, if it's sudden, and maybe if it's not even sudden, but people, it's like, oh my gosh, can't believe this happened. Disbelief. Wow. Right. And then there's the comforting piece that, oh, they're, if you believe in heaven, if you believe in an afterlife, they're no longer suffering because they were this, that, the other thing. And it sounds like, at least with your experience with Abby, your dog, I'm glad she's no longer suffering because she wasn't eating, she wasn't drinking, she wasn't the Abby that you knew.
Right. And she was a very she declined. That was not quick. You know, she was never like, she wasn't, when I say suffering, like the last couple days, yes. But Callie died very quickly because she had diabetes, which they say like you can have, like, for dogs, that's like 6 to 2 years, you know, when they're diagnosed with that. But she declined overnight. Really, like she was good one day, and then I came home from school junior year and she was like ready. She actually died on her birthday, which is kind of morbid, but she was 11, so she was a lot younger. But
I wanted to mention those two ways because I just feel like some people say that, right? Like if someone has been, you know, say a battle with cancer, which my grandmother, that's how she passed away. She was battling cancer.
My first grandmother too. Yeah,
and it was a progression of her in the hospital and then moving her to hospice and then her passing. But it's, you know, it was sad, but I think part of me was like, I'm glad she's not. It was comforting to know, at least I believe, that she was no longer suffering and in a better place.
Exactly.
But moving on to the third and final category that I was thinking of, and I want to use Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan,
I've heard of
as
them.
a case kind of study for this, is losing a community. So my kind of example of that is graduating, which is not a bad thing. Let me just say that first and foremost. But once I graduated, and I said this in the first few episodes of this show, I felt like I lost the Loyola community. Even though Loyola alumni is really great and Loyola does a good job of bringing people back to campus, and I've been back multiple times since
I was going to say, they did a great job bringing you back.
My mom actually said this year, she goes, how does it feel to be graduating from Loyola? Because there's a few things that are happening where I won't be going as much next year, but the last 2 years I've gone back so much that it doesn't even feel like it did at one point. But I just wanted to mention like losing a community. And I bring up Prince Harry and Meghan because for those of you who know, for those of you who don't know, they decided that they were going to leave the UK and remove themselves from the royal institution, the royal family and the monarchy, that institution that exists in the UK. And they initially moved to Canada, but then are now living in the United States in California. But they lost a dream. They lost, Prince Harry recently lost someone by death.
And his whole narrative, a lot of it is wrapped around his mother's death. He lost her at a super young age.
Princess Diana. Yeah, so lost someone by death, and now have lost a community because they have just been so public about pushing against British media and just the royal family as an institution. Not that he disrespects his family. It's just, I think, his take on the royal family's politics within a family. And every family has politics, just theirs is in the spotlight, right? Because they're the British royal family. Yeah. So he recently released a book called Spare. For those of you who don't know, there's a joke that's the oldest sibling in the royal family is considered the heir to the throne, and any sibling after that is the spare, right? They're just a safety cushion. And
the heir.
Even though you're the oldest.
The firstborn. No, that's why I said the heir.
Oh, you're the heir. Oh.
Yeah.
We're the heirs in our family. I don't know.
We are. Back to the
Ashley,
siblings.
And Jordan are now the spares.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know how much you know about this situation, but I wanted to talk about them because they not only lost, but they were forced out, right? And that happens too. Like graduating, I knew that was coming, but sometimes you lose a community because you're laid off, or I don't know. I'm thinking job things.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good example
of losing a community. But what are your thoughts on their situation and just what you've learned about this and losing a community?
I really only have like one thing to say about them.
Sure.
Because I hear a lot of people being like, oh, well, and I said this very recently. Oh, for someone that, I love how my voice changed from being mocking to when I said this, and now I'm saying it come.
This, oh.
Yeah,
Is that you mocking me now?
Yeah, no. I said, like, well, for somebody that's trying to get out of the spotlight, like, they sure have a lot of Netflix deals, stuff like that. But, this is what I'm thinking now. For somebody, like, he has and had money. And he had fame. His family trauma is now on full display. Like, what does he gain from this? He already had all those things that a Netflix deal would have gotten him, besides reclaiming his own narrative.
Yeah.
I don't think if he were to sit back and he and Meghan were to disappear from the media, their story is still going to be told. Mm-hmm. Most likely. But is it actually, what he's saying is that's not really their story. So he's reclaiming their narrative. I don't know I don't know them well enough. I don't know the politics behind it. To be honest, I don't know what the royal family does.
Yeah.
And I don't think many people do. But I think he's reclaiming his narrative. I've changed my opinion on him.
Yeah.
Not that I ever disliked him. I know he is very much into mental health, and whether or not this is actually true or not, I know his brother has done some mental health awareness himself, but then, I don't know how much of that is, authentic or not.
True. I don't think he's trying to stir up drama for his family. I do think, that's what Harry.
No,
Harry.
I agree. I think he's trying to set the record straight.
Yeah, loss of your own narrative, loss of your own story, or the ability to tell your own story. because media outlets, tabloids are trying to, profit off of what they have to say about your life, or what they can kind of fabricate or take this quote and mislead other people. And yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring them up because that's been a big story lately. And if you look at some of their interviews, if you watch the show on Netflix, there's a Stephen Colbert interview that Prince Harry had when he was on his book tour. It's like the extended interview on YouTube or something. They have a really interesting conversation because, and you can hear it, he doesn't say this explicitly, but Stephen Colbert lost his dad and some siblings, some brothers, in a plane crash when he was younger, when he was 10 years old. And so you can just hear two people who lost a parent and lost family members talking about that and other things linked to what we were talking about in terms of, Meghan and Harry having to leave the UK and trying to avoid the press and things like that. But anyway, I want to talk about that.
Speaking of loss, Point of View, I don't know if anybody knew this, was nominated for a Grammy. 2, actually. No, I'm kidding. We weren't nominated for a Grammy, but Justin and I'm a Lady Gaga fan. He's a One Republic fan, and Ryan Tedder and Lady Gaga both worked on the score for Top Gun Maverick, and instead of winning, we lost. I say we lost to Encanto. And Lady Gaga, who wrote Hold My Hand for the soundtrack, in the best song for visual media, lost to We Don't Talk About Bruno. So you're damn right we don't talk about Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno.
I was pro Bruno, after that movie. He can go back in the walls where he belongs. I was like, the second movie, if they ever make one, needs to just be about him in therapy. But you know what? Screw that.
Bruno in therapy? I would love that, even if it's a Disney short.
I know. Screw that. Give us back our Grammy, and then we'll talk.
Give us back our Grammy. Yeah. Anyway, Nick, thanks for indulging me in this conversation. I thought it was a good one. I really do think it was a good one. I don't think grief and loss is talked about enough. Not that we need to shine a spotlight on it, but I think informing people that there's no right way to grieve and no wrong way to grieve is really important. And so, I don't know, just talking about the different categories, I felt I really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you for indulging me in talking about loss.
Well, thank you. It was cathartic, and I loved that at no point did it feel, to be honest, I mean, there were some serious topics, but it didn't feel super heavy to me. I felt like it was either cathartic or positive.
Yeah.
At all times. Not that, you can't feel grief and sadness, but this was an interesting angle to come at this from. So
anyway, also within the Grammys, Viola Davis became an EGOT, which is cool.
Yes. Yeah, that was cool. I saw that.
That's really all I know.
And Beyonce.
Yes.
She didn't get EGOT status, but she now holds the records for most Grammys won. And I believe, 32?
You're asking me like I know. A number of
I'm
Grammys
embarrassed that I don't know.
Most Grammys won? 32. Yeah. 32.
Oh.
You know. Don't doubt yourself.
I was going to say I want to cut me saying I don't know, but I was like, no, I can't claim to be an expert and then pretend that then I'd feel false.
Yeah.
A fraud, if you will. But
fraudulent.
There we go. Yes, she won her 32nd Grammy, making her the most decorated artist in Grammy history.
Very exciting.
Yes.
And Viola Davis became the third person of color, I believe, to be an EGOT.
We love that. We love EGOT. That's like a very, very EGOT status in general.
And for those who don't know, it stands for Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Yes. And it's a very, very exclusive elite group of people. Like does not happen often.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Do you know another one? Can you name another one?
Ask me in 20 years and we'll have Lady Gaga be up there. Because she has...
John Legend is the only other one that I can think of.
Oh, does he already have one?
He does.
Or have that status? What is she? Well, she has the Grammys and she has the Oscars. She needs a Tony. She already has a Tony.
Emmy?
Tony Bennett.
Does she have an Emmy?
Get it?
Yeah. Does she have an Emmy for American Horror Story?
No.
Oh, okay.
She won a Golden Globe.
For American Horror Story. Oh, I guess she doesn't.
That's
have the G.
Grammy. Golden. No, she does have the G. It's the Grammy, but the Golden Globe
the Grammy, but
doesn't
she
factor
doesn't
into
have-
EGOT status.
Yeah.
It's like the VMAs of
EGOT
yeah.
would be Grammy
It's the
Globe.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. It was Nick, such an enjoyable conversation. Thank you so much. As always, my name is Justin Dew.
And I'm Nick Gervasi.
And you can reach us at our email, pointofdewpodcast@gmail.com, or by sending us a voice message on our website, anchor.fm/pointofdew. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Point of Dew Podcast, and Twitter at Point of Dew. If you enjoy our show, give us a rating or review wherever you get your podcast, or share us with a friend or family member. We'd really appreciate it and are always grateful for your support. We hope you have a wonderful 2 weeks. Thank you for listening, and until next time, let's see if we get the Super Bowl halftime show right.
And as some of Prince Harry's friends affectionately call him, H.